Hello and welcome to the GSK Human Performance Labs Triathlon Google Hangout, broadcast to you live from the lab here in West London. I'm Kiri Bloor. The GSK Human Performance Lab is a unique research facility. Only elite athletes come through its doors, from current Olympic champions to record-breaking polar explorers. Our partners benefit from better understanding their own performance, and the research gathered helps GSK develop products that better meet the healthcare needs of consumers and also creates opportunities for us to share knowledge across wider GSK research and development projects. I'm joined today by two of the lab partners' Olympic medal winners, Johnny and Alistair Brownlee. Welcome, guys.
Thanks very much.
We're also joined on the Hangout by 5 triathlon bloggers who have their own questions to put directly to the brothers. Let's take a moment to introduce them to you. Our first blogger is Russell Cox. Russell is a triathlon coach and Ironman competitor. He also runs his own website, coachcox.co.uk, where he shares his insights into endurance, sports and training. Thanks for joining us today, Russell. We're also joined by John Sutton. John has been competing in triathlon since 2003 and set up his own blog, Iron Twit, in 2005, sharing race reports, tri-tips and a bit of soul-searching, and even a few recipes. Welcome, John. Next up, we have Richard Mellick. Richard has represented Great Britain in triathlons around the world and competed in the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. Richard is joining us today, representing Free Speed Bike Fit Studio in London. Welcome, Richard. The fourth person joining us on the Hangout today is Pan. Pan is a novice triathlete hoping to compete in the Nice Ironman, along with 7 friends in under 112 hours, hopefully raising £10,000 for charity along the way. Hello, Pan. And the final person joining us is Phil Mosley. Phil is a triathlon coach and 2012 British age group triathlon and duathlon champion. Welcome, Phil. Now, you've been sending in your triathlon questions in via Twitter and via the lab's website for the last few weeks. In the next half an hour, we'll aim to put as many questions as we possibly can to Johnny and Alistair, hopefully giving us some great insights into things like training techniques, motivation, recovery, diet and hydration from 2 of the world's top triathletes. So without further ado, let's kick off with a question from Russell. Russell, are you there?
Hi there. Guys, we've seen a number of ITU athletes branch out or move on to 70.3.5 Ironman racing. Is long course triathlon something you see later on in your careers?
Definitely, yeah. Obviously, at the moment, our focus has all been on Olympic distance racing and the Olympics, and with the next Olympics in Rio coming up in 2 years' time, that's definitely the big focus at the moment, and that's the big goal we're aiming for, and that's what we're training for. But after that, I'll have done, hopefully, if I've gone, I've done 3 Olympic Games, raced ITU racing for, probably the best part of a decade. And, I think I could see myself ready to do something different, and long-distance racing really appeals to me. I've done triathlon since I was 8 years old, and so Kona, Ironman, Hawaii has always been the big thing there, one of the big things that you have to try and at least achieve in triathlon. And so I'd really love to have a go at that.
Yeah, I'm similar to Alistair, really. 2016, the Olympics in Rio is obviously something that I'm aiming for. I want to do very well in. But if after that I want a new challenge, and I need that new challenge, I need a new training stimulus, and definitely long distance is something that I'm definitely looking to go into. And starting off the sport very young, seeing Kona and things like that, and loving that side of it. I'd absolutely love to do it. But after 2016, we'll see. And if after 2016 I still want to commit to another 4-year cycle, because that's the way that Olympic distance sport really works, in 4-year cycles, then I'll stay in the Olympics. But if not, I'll go into long distance, definitely.
Fantastic. Thank you, Russell, for your question. So that brings us nicely onto a question on endurance from Ben Walsh. He sent this in via the HPL website. So Ben asks, any tips on endurance? He says, I run marathons and ultra marathons, but want to take it to the next level nutritionally and training-wise. Any top tips for peak endurance, guys?
I think the thing is with endurance, and it's a very boring answer, is that there is no shortcut really. There's no top tips. There's the only real standard things that you probably know already. So consistency over training over a long period of time, spending miles, time on your feet and your legs, especially for ultramarathons, just basically to harden up and getting used to spending time running around. And again, that comes down to consistency. You're far better off doing running 60 miles for 5-6 weeks in a row than you are doing a big week of 100 miles and then 10 miles the next week. So week on week, you'll find the improvement, and I think that's absolutely key for running marathons and especially ultramarathons. So you're just as efficient and hardened runner as you possibly can be. And in terms of nutrition, I think it's one of the things you can definitely do really well for ultramarathons. We separate our nutrition into day-to-day nutrition, which is what you eat when you come back from training, what you eat at night, all those kind of things. And that for us is just living a healthy, balanced diet with a few supplements, but on the whole, just a good balanced diet like everyone should eat. And then performance nutrition, which is in the lead up to the race, so making sure you've got plenty of electrolytes, which you can do with nutrition during the race with carbohydrate drinks and gels. And yeah, it's whatever fits you. So practice it, practice what you can take in when you're running, practice what is palatable for you and tastes good, and that you're going to want to drink and eat while you're on your feet for hours at a time, and just come up with a strategy that fits you.
Yeah, if I pick up on Alistair's last point, performance nutrition in an ultramarathon and many long-distance races is absolutely crucial. People say it's as much as an eating race as it is a foot race. So, and Alistair just said it there, but we'll just drum it home again. If you have to practice it. I've gone into races before with a nutrition tip, but it's a nutrition strategy that I've not really worked out. It's all random, and that's what we're trying to do now, really, with GSK, is kind of get something down where I know whether it's hot, what I should take, whether it's colder, what I should take during the race, before the race, and you have to practice that. There's no point before the race trying something completely new, and whether that's gels, bars, whatever, drinks, and whatever works for you is best.
So fantastic, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Ben. Now, we've got another blogger who's got a question for you, so let's go over to John with his question from his blog subscribers.
Hi guys, I asked the schools that I work with if they wanted to come up with some questions for you, and here's a popular one. I've got two brothers, and we were always very competitive in all aspects of our lives, even cooking. So do you think you would be as competitive in triathlon if you didn't have each other?
I'm a competitive person. I'd compete at whatever. Even if when we were young, we, like you said, competed at cooking. We competed at racing around the garden. Absolutely anything we could possibly compete at. Badminton in the garden, football, anything. We used to compete at it, and that I would always be like that, I think. But having Alistair there meant that competition was day to day. I did compete against Alistair all the time, so it was normal for me, and that's helped me now because I'm not scared of that competition side of it. But definitely, it has made me more competitive as well, I think, because I enjoy it. It's always been around me, and I've always enjoyed it. And it's been easy for me having Alistair as an older brother, because he starts off beating you, and he expects to beat you at everything. And then when I come along, if I beat him that one time when I'm young, then it's a great thing for me. And I always really enjoyed that. But definitely, we used to compete at absolutely everything.
Yeah, he's covered it all, really. I think we are very natural, competitive people. So I don't know, actually having Johnny there made me more competitive as such. But it's nature nurture, isn't it? We talk about it a lot. How much is that as natural, and how much has come from our upbringing, which I suppose is competing in the garden every day of our lives. But yeah, definitely in terms of our actual training and pushing each other on and making us competitive against other athletes. Are absolutely crucial to each other.
We've got very good at switching our competitiveness off, haven't we?
Yeah, you can't be competitive all the time, yeah.
That's the one thing we've changed over the last few years, is switching it off, so...
That's just getting older, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just getting older as well.
Right, well, I hope that answers your question, John. So let's move on. We've got Mark Perry. His question came in via the HPL website. He says, how often do you train, and how important are those rest days?
Well, we train, when we're training hard, about 35 hours in a week. We train every day. Normally, Monday's a bit of an easy day, and Fridays are really our easy day. But we still do 3 hours of training, probably on a Friday. And then, we swim 5 times a week, ride our bike every day, and run every day, and twice, 2 or 3 times a week. So a lot of sessions, anything from a run that could be 35, 40 minutes long, up to a bike ride that can be 4.5 hours long. So almost every session in the week is completely different, and every day is different. And it's arranged around doing obviously long, steady stuff and then some shorter, fast stuff. So obviously training is the important thing. And recovery days, people look at it in different ways. Some people have a complete day off. We tend to like an easy day where you either do what you feel like or, do easy training on that day. So, get a swim in and then run and bike pretty easy. But you can do it differently. I think what suits you. Obviously we're professional athletes. So say on a Friday, if we do 3 hours training, we can probably spend the rest of the day resting. So it's like a day off. Whereas if you're going to work and you do 4 hours training, and you go to work for 3 hours, that's your whole day gone anyway. So it's not ever going to be a rest day. So you've got to include it in things like that. And again, it's like almost anything you'll say about sport. It's a very personal thing. Some people don't like having a complete day off. Some people do. We tend to have kind of natural built-in rest days as well when you travel or you come back from a race. So they're rest days that are just included in your schedule without necessarily planning them in.
And what can help you guys completely switch off? Where's the thing or the place that you go to completely switch off?
Well, when I'm at home, when I'm in my house, obviously not around my training kit, I try to keep my training life, sports clothes, bikes, away from my normal life, you get what I mean? So in a room, it's very much not about training. I just watch TV. I'm a massive sports fan, so I'm a Leeds Rhinos fan. I go and watch Leeds Rhinos. I'm a Leeds United fan, so watching football. For me, other sports is a way of switching off. And just doing normal things really as much as I can. Our season's finished now. We were in France last weekend doing our final race, and now it's no triathlon for a little bit or training. I'll have 2 or 3 weeks off, completely off from training, and then start a bit more fun training. But for us, both of us, we're very outside people, so if we're not outside doing something, it doesn't feel right. So normally it's still quite active stuff or just doing nothing, like I said.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I hope that answers your question, Mark. Now we're going to head over to our blogger, Richard from Free Speed now. He's got another question. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, guys. This is a question predominantly to Alistair. It would seem from the outside that you've been a little more susceptible to illness and injury than Johnny has over the last few years. What do you put that down to, and how are you going to address that going forwards? If in fact it is the case.
I think I have been a little bit susceptible to injury, especially. I think a lot of that is because when I train harder, and that just means you're more susceptible to injury, especially at the real top end stuff. And that's it is a conscious decision in a way, that it means that I want to be as good as I can be, and to do that I have to push the boundaries of what I can do training wise, and you're on a constant line of how far you can push and stepping over it. And I think that's a very difficult line to run, but it's a conscious decision that I make, that I want to do that, push it almost every day and try the best I can be. And if that means that after tomorrow, for some reason, I can never run again, at least I've had a good innings and I've done as well as I can do. So I'll tell myself I'll be happy with that. But on the other hand, there's many things you can do to try and keep the risk, the injury risk as low as you possibly can. So obviously for me, good nutrition is very important. Things like recovering with recovery drinks and good general diet, so eating lots of meat, vegetables, I think that's really important. And also all our injury prevention stuff, so kind of regular massage, physio, work in the gym, addressing areas of your weakness. And I think as you get older, you learn a bit more about your body, and so hopefully I'm getting a bit better at that. But like I said, it's a constant risk you run, really, and a constant line that you're always finely treading.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that answers your question, Richard. Now, we've had quite a few questions around motivation. Nina Atherton and Wynne Thomas both want to know how you find the motivation to get out on those rainy days, and what you really do when you're really struggling to drag yourself off the sofa. I imagine both of you help each other do that a bit.
Yeah, well, motivation is, we get asked about this all the time, really, and it's one thing, it's very hard to answer because we don't really think, but I love the sport, firstly, so it's not a struggle for me to get out of the bed every day to do the sport and to go out training. I love being outside. I'm a very active person. But when it's rainy and cold, I'd be lying to say I really want to go on my bike and get cold hands and get back and not even be able to open the front door and that kind of thing. And that's when you do it because it's routine, you always do it. And then when it is cold, I do it because I'm a competitor. I want to do well in races. And so those days when it is really cold is when I switch from getting out the door because I enjoy it to getting out the door because I've got to compete. And also, when I used to live with Alistair, or even now when I'm meeting for a bike ride, if I'm going to meet him at 1:15 somewhere, then I'm not going to be late. It's raining, I'm still going to go and meet him anyway because I know he's going to be out training. I'm going to have someone to train with, which makes it far, far easier. So for me, like I say, it's competition, enjoying it and having Alistair there.
Yeah, I think the important thing, like Johnny kind of said at the beginning, is actually 95% of our training isn't actually about motivation at all. It's what we do. Like, you know, you might get up and go to work, or whatever you do on a Monday morning, we get up and we go swimming. It's just what you do day in, day out. And so that means you do the vast majority of your training without kind of dipping in your pool of motivation, if you like. And then, yeah, there is those days where it's cold and you're tired and you don't want to go out, and Johnny's going, or you're up early in the morning, or you're pushing really hard on a session, and yeah, you do need to draw from your motivation then, I suppose. But and that's why Johnny's good.
So in terms of weather climates, obviously we're moving to sort of hotter climates for the big competition that's coming up. But actually, in training, do you prefer it to be warm? Do you prefer it to be cold? And when you're competing, what's the temperature that you prefer?
Well, for training, we actually like just very simple. You want dry weather because you don't want to be rained on. But maybe like 10 to 15 degrees, really.
Solid British day.
Yeah, exactly. And dry and sunny. That's the absolute ideal weather.
It's always like that in Yorkshire as well. So.
Yeah, it's always like that in Yorkshire. To be honest, even if it's not, if it's 0 and it's sunny, it's absolutely fine. It's beautiful to be out. It's when you get the wet. When it's about 1 degree and raining, that's the worst possible weather in the world to training because there's nothing you can still go out. It's doable, and you just go out and get wet and cold, and it's miserable. And when it actually starts snowing, it's a bit better because it makes it hard to actually go out, so you've got an excuse not to go out. And it's dry, so you can go out and run and not get wet, and you're okay. But yeah, 1 degree and raining. For actual competing, we both like the worst weather you could possibly ask for. And although we hate, obviously, doing anything in the worst weather like that, we don't like training in it, we kind of work on the principle that everyone else likes it less than us, so it's a good thing.
It's a good policy. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to head over to another one of our bloggers. It's Pan that's on the line now. He's a novice triathlete.
Hello.
Hi guys, first of all I'd like to say what a pleasure it is to share an audience with you. Have you guys got any advice or tips for a group of novices who are planning to raise money for charity and do the Ironman in Nice next year?
Yeah, firstly, go for it. An Ironman in Nice, it'd be a beautiful race. It'd be a great course. I've actually done a little bit of cycling around there and it'd be gorgeous. But obviously start training now. Yeah, if you want to do an Ironman, it's a lot of time. It's going to take you, 12 hours, 15 hours or whatever. It's going to be a hard day to start training. And when it comes to the training side of it, consistency is the most important. We're always a big believer in there's no point 1 week doing 5 hours, the next week doing 20 hours, 25 hours. Just keep it consistent. Sort out a plan to do it, a training plan so you know what you're doing each day. If that helps, get some friends to do it. So if you're doing it as part of a group, then that makes it far, far easier. Like I say about Alistair all the time, I train with him 95% of the time, and that makes it a lot easier for me. He can push me in sessions. I can arrange to meet for those easy rides when I'm tired, and we can talk. We can go on the bike ride for 4 hours and talk, and it makes training far, far easier and way more sociable. But just enjoy it. You want to set yourself a challenge so you can enjoy it. So that's the most important thing.
I hope that answers your question, Pan, and we wish you the best of luck because I know he's hoping to raise £10,000 for charity. Now, we're going to move on. We've got Phil on, and he has got a question for you. He's actually talking about the climate, so we'll hand over to Phil.
Hello, Phil.
Now, I'm not sure if we've got Phil there, but actually I will just let you know what Phil's question was. He says, how do you cope with training... Philly, there? We'll ask the question. Phil might pop in a second. Let's ask the question. He might be able to talk back to you in a second. So how do you cope with training in Yorkshire? So we sort of covered this. And how do you cope with racing on the hotter climate days? And how does the heat affect both of you? Does it affect you differently?
Yeah, well, training in Yorkshire, which we do most of the time, in the summer it's glorious, fantastic place to train. We're very, very lucky that we've got a great setup in our squads with our coaches and the other athletes we train with, and the facilities we have. And Leeds, the city, is a fantastic city. So, everything's there that we need. If we need to see doctors or physios, see the coaches, have sessions at pools, we really have got a fantastic system of being back up. So I think that's the most important thing. Actually, that's the second most important thing after the natural environment around it, which is important. You spend probably 25 hours at least every week cycling and running around the roads and paths. So, that's incredibly important to us. And so that's fantastic. And then obviously, the weather can be tough sometimes, but we spend a bit of time in Spain in the winter, which is good, just to have some nice weather, but also enjoy a change of scenery, which is important. But, you just take the rough with the smooth. You have some good days and you have some bad days, and when the days are bad, you either do something else or you go out and do as much as you can. And I think we learn over the years that you can balance your training quite well and kind of take it a bit easier in the winter and train harder when the better weather comes. The only difference for that we struggle with in going into preparing for hot races is with the World Series that we race in, the Triathlon World Series, which is to be world champion. It's becoming bigger and longer every year. So if next year it potentially starts in mid-March, it's pretty hard to go and race somewhere really hot in mid-March against guys who've been training somewhere hot to be as fit as they can, and we've come from some snowy fields somewhere in Yorkshire. So we're having to slightly adjust to that, whereas before we could race in June, and that's a timing thing and where we train. In terms of actually racing in the heat, that's something we sometimes find quite tough. I think we both generally find that when we're fit and everything's fine, heat isn't a problem, but the minute something's a bit wrong, either you're not fully fit or you've got anything slightly wrong with you, heat becomes a big issue to both of us, and it seems to be humid heat that can be an issue. There's things you can do about that, spending more time training in hot climates and actually preparing. So if you know it's going to be a hot day, so for example, if we know we race somewhere hot, like Rio could potentially be hot, and because it's the Olympics, we'll prepare for the worst conditions. So we'll make sure we do some heat acclimatisation before, especially looking in the last 6 weeks for short-term acclimatisation, but over the longer period of the next 18 months as well.
Fantastic. Well, sorry we couldn't catch you, Phil, but I hope that answered your question. Now, in fact, that's going to lead us nicely on to the next question. So one of our HPL partners is the British Triathlon Federation, and the lab will be supporting the triathletes and para-triathletes to acclimatise for the Rio 2016. So I know today that you've been down there and been doing a bit of acclimatisation. Can you tell us a little bit about the facilities that are here and also what you've been doing today?
Yeah, well, Rio 2016 is, obviously, like I said, could be anything from cold to hot, whereas London, we were very lucky in that it was in our home environment, so it shouldn't be too hot. But today, we've been downstairs in the heat chamber, doing a few tests, the worst case scenario for Rio, which is hot, and seeing how our body reacts to that. So we were cycling just downstairs, a hot temperature, seeing for half an hour to see how our body responded. And in the hot, humid conditions, both of us suffered really, really badly. But that it's great for us because we actually wanted to suffer badly to know what's like in a race, so we can work out how to go into that race to get over that. Do I need to spend some time somewhere hot beforehand, 2 or 3 weeks? Do I need to go to a heat chamber before Rio, or do I need to change my strategy going to a race, nutrition-wise? Take more salt going to a race? Do I need to, during the bike, do I need to take a drink with more salt in it, or more sugar or whatever? Which is all very new to us. In previous years, we've not been so scientific about it all, which is, it's actually affected us before because you're going to race, not being so detailed. And these are things that you can train 34 hours a week as hard as you want, but if you turn up to Rio and it's a hot day, then maybe I can't compete as well as I want to. So, with GSK, we're trying to develop something which I hope will help us in Rio 2016.
And Alistair, can you talk us through a little bit about the facilities here? Because I know they're absolutely fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about what they're like? Yeah, absolutely. It's brand new. I think it was only open about a year ago. We came about this time last year, I think, and it was literally they were still putting things up. So it is brand new. And it's split up into a few different areas. There's
There's like a cognitive area which tests your action times that we're doing this morning. Unfortunately, Johnny was faster than me. And then there's a heat chamber area and a kind of a physiology lab that we're in this morning as well. And that's got bikes and treadmills, as you expect a lab, but it's all very swish and very impressive and all state-of-the-art. And then there's the lab where you can do measurements of your blood values and that kind of thing. I think they're measuring the blood with some of the samples that we took this morning while we were sweating away in the heat chamber. There's a pool, a Flume endless pool with a treadmill on the bottom, underwater treadmill, which are fantastic. You know, we've both used them in our rehab, and Flumes are fantastic for swimming in as well, just training, but also analysing your stroke. And then there's all sorts of things that I don't really know about so well. The kind of gym area, which isn't really something I know a lot about, and some big weights and some really interesting looking rowing and kayaking machines that I know nothing about as well. But yeah, it all looks very impressive. So yeah, it's good just to play around on them, even if we don't know what they quite do.
Certainly sounds fantastic. Now, the final question, I know you've talked a little bit about it and your season's almost come to a close. You've talked about being in Spain. So what does the rest of the year look like for you both?
Well, our season's over, like I said, so having a few weeks doing different stuff. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going home. I spent a lot of time this year away travelling, so I'm looking forward to going home and doing normal stuff, cutting the grass and that kind of thing, and tidying my house. It sounds incredibly boring, but I haven't been able to do it. And then I might go on holiday for a little bit, just a week or so, and then get back into training steadily. We'll start training steadily in October time. And then, yeah, it all starts again next year. The World Series starts very early in March, and then qualification for the Olympics will be mid to late summer sometime. So, yeah, we'll be back on it again soon.
So not much time to rest. Have you got anything you want to do, Alistair, in that time?
Well, at the moment, obviously, busy doing lots of different things, which is nice. It's something a bit different for us. Maybe my priority at the moment, like Johnny said, is spend a bit of time home doing things you can't do normally, you know, seeing some friends, maybe, you know, just going out doing things that I'd like to do, some go-kart and go to the cinema, you know, simple things. And then I think I'll go on holiday somewhere for a bit and then slowly get back into training.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. We've run out of time and we'll have to bring things to a close here. A huge thank you to Alistair and Johnny for sharing those amazing insights, tips and stories. It really has been fascinating. Thank you to our vloggers also for joining us, and thank you for putting your questions to Alistair and Johnny. And of course, thank you to you all for tuning in. Now, you can find out more about the R&D work the GSK Human Performance Lab is doing on their website, which is gshpl.com. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at GSK_HPL for more insights and information to future events like this. But thank you to you all once again, and it's goodbye from us here.